Alright everybody, we have done the music portion of the video, so let's get to the informational portion of this video. So, the topic tonight is properly sticker stackering your lumber, which I do, believe it or not, get a lot of questions on this, and it's actually a very important thing when you're milling your own lumber. Now, a lot of people think, if you're unfamiliar with milling or you're just getting into it, a lot of people think that the most important part is cutting the log on the sawmill. I would tend to disagree with that. I feel that the most important thing is actually sticker stackering your lumber properly to avoid a lot of the movement and things like that. So we're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts of sticker stacking lumber. Jeez, that's a hard one to say for me. But anyway, we have some cherry slabs that we milled a couple of years ago, and I had them stacked on the other end of the barn before we got the forge and stuff moved in there. So I've had it leaning against the wall because a lot of the boards developed a little bit of a bow, and that was because, well, they weren't protected from the sun as well as they should have been, and I know better. So that is the first thing. Protect your lumber from the sun. So if you're sticker stacking, jeez. How many takes are we going to do to get this out? Holy cow, this could be a long one tonight, folks. But anyway, real important thing, if you're going to do it outside, you need to make sure the direct sunlight's not going to hit it. You need to make sure you have airflow going through it. You want to try to keep the rain off of your piles. So a lot of people do is they'll put a piece of sheet metal over top of it, so it kind of domes out over it. It can shed rain and the sun's not hitting the pile. Sometimes you'll see people use tarps. They'll kind of put them up like a tent. Unfortunately, I can't really do that here. The wind outside, it just shreds every tarp we've ever tried to put on anything. But my preferred method is if I can get the stack inside, which is what we're going to do here. That's how I like to do it. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to put your stack inside a building where you don't have wind to blow through it, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry, so you really have to pay attention to that. Nothing worse than milling a beautiful log, getting some beautiful slabs, stacking it, thinking it's dry, then you go make a project out of it, and a few months later you see that thing twist and shake and crack and bend and do all kinds of crazy crap on you because you didn't let it dry enough. So anyway, I'll show you guys how I do it, and do with the information what you will. Alright, first things first, very important step. You want your stickers to be the same size, at least the same depth, the same height. If you have these at a bunch of different sizes, what's going to happen to you in your piles is that difference in sizes is actually going to translate into your lumber as you stack it. So match them up. It doesn't matter, they don't have to be the same width, but they do have to be the same thickness. That is super important. So if you're going through your pile of pieces that you're going to use, you tend to make sure that they're all the same size. This is what we're going to start our stack with. Another tip, when you're going to pick your stickers out, it really does help if you're using the same species as wood is what you're intending to dry. That actually does help, because sometimes if you have a resinous wood like pine or something like that, it's going to stain the wood, and a lot of times it soaks into the grain pretty deeply. Now, if you're using really dry pine or something like that to use for your stickers, might not be so bad. That's what I do here. I make sure it's good and dry. It's actually really important, because you got to remember, when you have green wood, you're sticking it in the pile. You don't want your stickers to dry out. You know what I mean? You don't want them to shrink up and move, because it will throw your pile off. You're going to get some movement in the pile. You're going to get some strange things, just the wood doing different things as it dries out. That's kind of why you like a slow, controlled dry rather than a really fast, harsh dry, because what will happen is it will really magnify any issues you're going to have, any cups, any bows, any warpage, any crowns, anything like that. But all I do, it's really simple. It's just, I set them on the floor. I make sure they're the same as far as thickness goes, and then I stack them up. I don't like going much over 2 feet with my stickers. You do what works for you, but for me personally, I don't like going much over 2 feet with them, simply because I want to make sure I want to make sure that my stack is well supported, and if you go too far in between your stickers, those boards could bow on you a little bit, and what will happen is that they're going to set that way when they dry. Now I've got enough here, I believe, for 2 wide. I usually start, if I have a bunch of slabs and I'm cutting different thicknesses, what I like to do is put the thinner stuff on the bottom, because in my experience, and you guys can tell me I'm full of it, but in my experience that stuff moves a lot more than the thicker stuff. It dries out faster, not as much material there to support it, so it actually moves more in the pile. At least that's what I've seen with what I do. You know, it'd be cool. Maybe Nathan will do a video on this, which I think would be really neat. So let's see what we have. So we have our first layer down. And what we want to do when you get your first layer down, you get your next layer of stickers on it, you want them to match up as perfect as you can with the ones below it. If you have them offset there again, you're going to have parts of your pile that's not supported evenly. When they're not supported evenly, they bow, they move. You guys get the theme here? That's kind of where it's at. Now these I set against the wall to help get the bow out of them, and it actually worked really well. But now that that bow's out of them, I want to get them stacked up properly again. That way they can, that way they don't move any more than what they did originally. Now if you have, say you have a bow in the slab, this one has a little bit of one still, we had stacked it opposite of the bow. What I like to do is I'll put so say it's bowed like this, I'll put that middle part where it's high, I'll stick it up. That way the weight of the pile will kind of push it back down against the stickers and hopefully take care of it. I will say though, once that pile gets good and dry on you, it is what it is unless you steam it and try to do it again. So be aware of that. Basically it's one of those things you want to do it right the first time because it'll save you a lot of headache down the road. Now I think we have the 1 inch, now we have some more. These were beautiful slabs. They had a cool curve to them. And I tell you what, when these were green, fresh off the sawmill, they were a lot heavier than that. These have been drying for 2 years. These 8/4 slabs, they're pretty well ready to use now. But we definitely have some work to do to them to get them just right. Alright, so there's a quick view of sticker stacking basics. It's pretty simple. Level spot, airflow around it, keep your stickers, keep them stacked up the same all the way up through the pile. That way you don't have any of that stuff in there. And keep in mind, now I do this quite a bit differently than most people. I kind of go against the conventional wisdom of air drying your lumber. When it comes to live edge stuff that I'm going to use for something live edge, I do not anchor seal the ends of it. Now if I plan on using it, and I didn't do it with this log, but generally if I plan on using it for a woodworking project, say something like cabinets or something like that, I do paint the ends. A lot of times I use a wax. You can use wax, you can use anchor seal, you can use latex paint. Latex paint works wonderful, it's cheap. White latex paint doesn't get much cheaper than that. You can use spray paint. You don't have to go and buy anchor seal. It works really well, but there's ways around it. So But I like to let the piles, if I'm going to use it for live edge tables or something like that, I like to let the wood do what it's going to do naturally. If I want it to split, I want it to split big, because that allows me to do the epoxy pours, anything like that, or to big bow ties. Kind of neat things to do with the slabs. To me, just a plain slab table is kind of boring. For me, what really makes a live edge table really pop is things like butterflies or bow ties, whatever you want to call them. The epoxy pours, whether they're dyed or not. I like the ones that are dyed. I tell you who does a lot of epoxy pouring is Matt Cremona, and that's some pretty nice stuff. But so anyway, that's it. Nothing real complicated here, but I do get, believe it or not, I do get quite a few questions on stacking these piles. And if you guys are wondering why we're talking about all this milling, why we're out dropping trees, I finally have a good enough stockpile of logs once again, the first time since we were really hot and heavy into the timber frame project, where I'm going to be running the sawmill. So I'm trying to get ready, get everything cleaned up, get it ready to get the logs in here hopefully this weekend. I'd love to have one milled by Friday night. That's what we're going to go for. We'll see what happens. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one.